You can't make this. I'm talking. I wonder, do women hear other women and cringe and say, "Damn, is that me? Am I like that?"
This one of y'all been seeing floating around, at least for the past couple of days, about the woman dating the bus driver. Since I got the guys on the panel, I think it'd be only right if we give our opinions about it. We'll go ahead and play the clip. Um, Took the video part out of it, so it's just the audio with a pic. And she did respond to the viral clip as well. So I have those tied in there together. So just be patient as I play a longer clip than usual.
Would you date a bus driver? Would you date
if
a
he
bus
owns
driver?
the bus? If he owns
No.
it? If he owns the bus?
See, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. Because the standards and requisites, and I'm not talking about him laying on his sofa playing video games all day. I'm not talking about that. But the standards and the criteria that we use to measure men is off for who we are as women and who they are in this society. I would date a bus driver if he loved driving the bus, if he was a man of integrity, if he was good to his mama, if he treated me well, I would date a bus.
So out of the 50,000 plus comments posted on social, I only saw a handful that even considered the possibility of a bus owner being a more aspirational position and recognizing that I am actually speaking and pouring into the ascension of black men when I said what I said. But see, no, some of y'all were too busy naming and shaming me personally and black women in general as undesirable, gold diggers, and much worse. Now, I suspect that some of y'all are the same men that were bringing home C's and D's on your report cards, only to then be coddled by parents that said, well, that's okay, as long as you're doing your best. Well, listen, I love and believe in the excellence of black men. So no, my dear, C's and D's or any other form of mediocrity is not okay. No, I will not create a soft place for you or anybody that I love to fall comfortably into the bigotry of low expectations. So I'm going to say one more time, there's absolutely nothing wrong with driving a bus. My mother Gloria drove one for years. But could it be that black America has been sold a narrative of average, regular, and typical being good enough for us? Well, see, that's called white supremacy. And in this case, it takes the form of conditioning black Americans to happily accept being a permanent American underclass. But see, because I know the truth about black folk in America, no, average is not and will never be good enough for me. And the gag is, I don't think it's good enough for you either.
All right. Shannon, you okay? I'm going to go to you first, Shannon.
You can't make this up. You can't make this. I'm talking. I wonder, do women hear other women and cringe and say, "Damn, is that me? Am I like that?" The fact that I tell people all the time, don't waste the opportunity to apologize with an excuse. Don't waste the opportunity to apologize with an excuse. The gaslighting that we just heard, the fucking sign language, the C's and D's, you must have got those in, you average. And I'm just looking at the greatness of black men. And that's what no, motherfucker, you simply said you wanted a man that owned the bus company. And if he didn't own the bus company, he couldn't date you. It is what it is. Don't come in here with the cleaning it up, trying to shame people for telling them what they saw and then gaslight them about what, well, don't you see the greatness in you? Because I do. And then turn around and say, I wouldn't settle for average, and I don't think you should too. You simply fucked up. All you had to do was say, you know what? I didn't think before I spoke, which is what happens with a lot of women. Your mouth is faster than your brain. And her mouth was faster than her brain. And she spoke, when Ayanna asked her that question, she spoke too goddamn soon. And she wasted an opportunity to apologize with an excuse. And the other part, the need to be right. I mean, it's sign language incarnate. And it's cringy to hear because so many women listen to that stuff and identify with that attitude. And I'm praying that more and more women wake up and say, I hope I'm not like her. And if I am, tell me so I can be exactly the opposite of what we just heard what's her name, Ebony K. Williams say, because that shit was a goddamn travesty.
You know what's interesting? So I caught like the portion that she was speaking to before that, and she was speaking to the fact that men cannot. She was talking about how men aren't able to meet the expectation. You know what I mean? They're not living up to society standards. They're not meeting expectations. So when Ayanna asked her that question, she immediately proved Ayanna's point in saying that no, you don't want somebody that meets expectations. You wanted somebody that goes over and beyond, which is nothing wrong with that. I'm cool with her wanting that. You know what I mean? She's where she's at. She's successful. So she wants a man that owns a bus, you know what I mean? To be a bus, to own a bus rather than drive the bus. I'm not mad at that. The problem is that she was speaking for women and saying, hey, look, these men aren't meeting expectations. That's why our women can't find men. And then when Ayanna asked her that question, she pretty much, and I guarantee you, a lot of women agreed with it. Was like, yeah, if he owns a bus company, I'd date him. Well, you just proved Ayanna's point. That it ain't that the men aren't meeting expectations. Your expectations are just too damn high. And hers, in that sense, what she was speaking to is too damn high. Because I guarantee you, she doesn't own the network that she's doing that show on. You don't own none of that shit. But you want this man to own the bus because to drive it? It's wild.
Damn, that's a good point. You don't own the network you talk on, but he got to own the bus company.
Granted, I did look up the average salary for bus drivers, and it is pretty low.
I did too.
Are we looking at the same numbers? Because I've looked at them today. Bus drivers in New York make 6 figures.
Man, look, you can't talk about New York. New York is different. I'm talking about
New York prices.
Even the national average is about
23 anywhere.
84. Well, no, we're talking about bus drivers. We're not talking about school bus drivers. There's a difference. I want people to
that is.
We're not talking about school bus drivers. We're talking about bus drivers, right? The national average for bus drivers, I looked it up, it's just under 84,000.
She's in New York City, though.
You know what I'm saying? Oh,
she lives and works in New York City.
There's bus drivers that make at least 140, 150, and the high end 166 in New York City. Like, her part, because she makes it seem like we're talking about like an Uber Eats driver versus someone who actually works for the city or the state. Like, that's where the conflation starts happening in being disingenuous. Into Ayanna's point, she brought up virtues. She talked about virtues about the man. She talked about him caring about her as a woman, him respecting her as a woman, him showing up for her, him loving and respecting his mother, values, things that have seemed to gone out the window. And this is why a lot of men out here are very convinced that these women don't give a fuck about these damn virtues, values, and principles and stuff like that. As long as the bag is green and is heavy, they will grab that versus a man that's more virtuous. Wow.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Luis. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna land. This is why you see, young women gravitate towards the dope boy or the scammer and stuff like that. It's not because they're virtuous people. I mean, obviously we're talking about criminals, but at the same token, we're talking about their ability to garner a certain type of lifestyle or garner a certain amount of money in a short period of time. So it comes down to money. You know what I'm saying? And sort of to the rest of the spoils go.
And then here's how much it costs. It costs nearly almost $400,000 to $700,000 to own a bus, to buy a bus, right? And then to operate that bus would cost you an additional $400,000 to $500,000 a year. So she's well beyond wealthy. A generally wealthy person in America. She's gone far beyond that to say that she goes from I won't date a bus driver to he has to own a bus. She's talking about a millionaire.
So I want us to get off the money for a minute. That's not really the issue here. So when a woman is of a certain bracket, it's not about what you make, it's about how she looks with you. And so I think she's speaking from that perspective that she can't go to her friends who are doing the same job and it looks good. So let's say he was making 60,000, but he was this great scientist who had just achieved something. Well, because he has